You know what helps? If all your cables are plugged in.
So if you can hear us right now,
So yeah, if
let
you
us
guys
know.
can hear us, that would be fantastic. So they have no idea what we're talking about.
No, let's restart. Okay.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
That's too funny. That's too funny. By the way, our daughter is walking by and thinks we're nuts. But hey, that's the fun of working out of home. So hey, welcome. This is Adam and Bo, and you are watching and listening to the Marketing Mentors Show with
Bo?
and Adam. Oh, Adam and Bo. Whatever. Anyway, so hopefully you guys can hear us right now. Much better than you could the first time. And if you could just give us a thumbs up and let us know, hey, we can hear you. That's pretty cool. So look, what I was showing earlier when you guys couldn't hear me is that we've got 3 cool topics for you today. And they all are not necessarily marketing related, but very much business growth related. So topic number 1, we'll talk about something we get asked a lot, which is?
How is it working together?
Yes, with a
business.
spouse, all right?
With a spouse, partner.
Or somebody, significant other that you are involved with intimately. That's really the key thing, right?
Right.
The second thing we'll talk about is finding your strengths as a business, as an entrepreneur, as a person. Like, what are you really, really good at that you do so magically well, no one can copy it and do it as well as you do? And then the third thing we'll talk about is what?
Your support system, building your support system.
Yep. I call it network, she calls it system, whatever, in the business and especially outside of business, actually. So this is not about building your team at work. This is about your support network. People that, when shit falls apart, who do you call? And by the way, this is a PG-17 rated show.
Right.
There's some cussing involved. Bo cusses a lot. I never do.
I'm not. So now that we have audio, I wanted to welcome Jim Palmer, Carla, another Jim, whose last name I cannot pronounce.
How are
Sean
ya?
Huber, Luz Sellers. Hi, Luz. My
Hey, Luz.
accountability buddy. So,
Hey,
hello.
Bo's support network.
Yes.
Awesome. So I wanted to show off. Look, we've got 2 cameras. Isn't that amazing? We have sound.
We have figured out technology. Okay.
Momentarily. So let's talk about working together. So you started talking, so let's go back, talk a little bit.
Yes, I started talking about how does it work working together, and we have been married for about 25 years.
In April 25th
And
next year.
Yes, and worked together for about 16 years on and off. So first time we did work together, it didn't work out so well. I actually quit. And second time around...
You didn't what?
I quit. And the second time around, Adam fired me. And now it's the
First
third
time around.
No, second time around. Don't argue. My
She's
way
right.
is the right way.
I don't remember the first time, okay? Nobody ever quits on me. That's just not how it happened.
It
So
was in the bagel business.
you didn't quit. You
I
quit?
did. I found a
Apparently.
job. So anyway,
So that's a good point. So we actually worked together for way more than 16 years.
we've been always working
Way
together.
more. All
right.
right. So look. So can I chime in?
Sure.
So let's talk about some lessons. What works very good. The reason you probably became attracted to someone is because in some way they're different than you. Right? The personality might be the same, but or it's such that you like the personality, but their skills may be diametrically different than yours. And actually, in business, they should be diametrically opposed than yours because then you can get done more. However, because of that, you start doing things differently, and if you don't figure it out quickly enough, sparks fly very, very quickly. So what happened second time we worked together in the coaching consulting business, about a year into the business, I realized that I need support, and I did the basic mistake every entrepreneur makes, which is I hired a family member, aka Bo, right? So we worked together for about a year, and Bo had some clients kind of in the accounting support capacity, but it didn't work. Man, we were fighting all the time. I felt like I wasn't being supported. I don't know how you felt, probably the same way.
Yeah, I felt frustrated.
Yeah. We weren't making much progress, so I thought that, hey, one person can bring X into the business. When we bring a second person, we probably instantly double. Well, that wasn't happening, right? So there were financial pressures. Bottom line, one lovely morning, we had our spare bedroom office, and I said to Bo, hey, why don't you sit down? I said, no, I've got things to do. I said, no, why don't you sit down? She sat down, and I looked her in the eyes and said, honey, you're fired. And how did that work?
Well, I got fired. It was a sad moment, and actually I went and got a job and worked at the company for quite a few years in corporate America, until the third time when we
Figured it out.
Yeah, figured it out. That
So
was
the
8
third-
years ago.
Yeah, the third time, 8 years ago, it took me a while. I begged her for a while to come back. And it's like, I've had this one experience of being fired by you. Thank you, no, thank you. But eventually she came on board and we started working together. And here's what we figured out, that each one of us, again, has very different skill sets. So, and I want to talk to you, especially if one of you in the partnership is more entrepreneurial and the other one is more kind of by the way, there's no offense meant in there, has more of an employee mindset, right? So again, the differences are that we perceive security differently and control differently. Like as an entrepreneur, I feel in control when I can call my own shots, and I feel secure when I actually risk things. I'm very secure, very comfortable with risking and taking big leaps and not having everything figured out. And I get very excited about big vision. And for Bo, it's very different. So what are some things that you thrive on? What's security? What's control to you?
So control for me is knowing what's the next step and what's the next step. So at least a few steps ahead, having a plan and having some kind of system, and not doing things in the last moment. So it took us a while to recognize that, because Adam, if I can compare it to animals, Adam is a bunny that hops and he can see the horizon far ahead, and I am a turtle that sees maybe 1 millimeter in front. My horizon is very close, so I need to have the clearly defined steps. And we were fighting because Adam was already on project 1001 and I was still clinging to project number 1, going, honey, how are we going to do this? And we have to do this and that. And it was driving Adam nuts until we figured it out. And he said, Bo, it would help me if we can sit down and I will tell you all my ideas. We don't have to implement all of them. All I need to do is dump them out of my head onto the piece of paper, and we can get back to them later. And that really helped me out a lot.
So actually, thank you for sharing this. This is actually a key phrase that I've learned. And on and off, we have someone else working with us internally, out of our home offices. And I tend to work very intensely for, an hour or two, and then, or half an hour, and then I need a 5-minute break, or an hour, I need a 5-minute break. So I would share with Bo and whoever else we have working with us, I would say, look, I want to interrupt you, and I'm going to come and dump a bunch of ideas, because in the midst of completing a task of working on something, I get so creative, I get so many different ideas, and I keep notepads, I keep writing them down, but I need to hear myself get those ideas out of my head. So before, I would come and sit with Bo and I would just start talking. I'm going to do this and this, and this is great, and that's awesome. And I could just see that she was just like slumping in the chair lower and lower.
It didn't work.
And going like, oh my God, we already have 1 billion things going on. How are we going to do another 1 billion things? And then what I learned is, look, what I need to dump some ideas out of my head. What would really help me if you guys could listen. Now, we may not end up doing any of them at all. I just need to hear myself say them. And sometimes I would like end mid-sentence and be okay with it, right? But that one key phrase, look, I just want to say some things and share them with you, so you know what's going on in my mind, but we may not be doing any of them. So don't worry about, details or notes or whatever. And that put Bo and whoever else we had working with us like immediately at ease, all right? So some things that didn't work. Let me tell you what doesn't work. And again, you may be able to communicate it to your partner or spouse. I am the guy, again, as Bo mentioned, that kind of leaps forward. I see the moon, and I'm already pretty much on the moon. All right. The minute I conceive the idea, I start with the end, and Bo starts with the first picture. So it's kind of like fire and water, or wood and metal. I get ahead and she starts with, but what's the first step? And she chops me down, and I feel unsupported. Right? So what we needed, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. When I am done and now it's her part to conduct her part of the meeting, and she goes into all the minutia and all the details, I go like, oh, okay, we're done.
Because I don't know which project to really focus on. There are 1,000 ideas, or there were 1,000 ideas. And I wanted to start with the first one, and Adam was already on to number 1,000, so I got all confused.
So the point I'm trying to drive home is this. When I was in my element and sharing the big picture, Bo was beginning to feel overwhelmed,
Totally.
right? And then when we flipped, but I was in my element, I was excited, and then I was, I was like looking at her, why aren't you excited? It's like, this is the bright future, the great things coming our way, right? And she was like, ooh. And then vice versa, when she was sharing what she was fired up, it's like, look at all of this, and I've done this, and I analyzed this, and I organized this, and I was going like, oh my God, really? This is going nowhere fast. There's no way to build business this way. And so I felt bored. I felt overwhelmed with too much details. And, so obviously that didn't work until we figured out that we just need to be present for the other person when they need to share their stuff. And we need to pay enough attention so they feel supported to share what they need to share. And I think that's the big thing, that when we first worked together, the first time we worked together, like in the restaurant business, it really wasn't very cooperative working.
So let's not count it as working together. No.
So really the first time in the coaching consulting business, what didn't work is that we didn't know our own strengths. We didn't understand them, how they play a role in our business. And very importantly, because we didn't know those strengths, we didn't know how to appreciate them both in ourselves and in the other person.
Yeah, and I would add to that we didn't know also our personality or working style. So Adam would thrive at night. At midnight, he will get the creative ideas. And that's the time when I needed my sleep. So we would be having the board meeting or the executive meeting or strategy meeting at 11 o'clock going to 1 o'clock. And I would be, of course, on my sleep cycle. And Adam would not understand why my brain is not functioning. So that did not work. And so finding out how, what your patterns of work are and personality, style, and where you are at your best. I think that's the key also to working together, I think.
So, we're blessed because we actually have, we work out of our home, but we have two separate offices, and now we actually created this little dance studio for ourselves. Hopefully we'll use it from time to time. But so we're not bumping into each other all day long. I've got an office upstairs, got an office downstairs, right? However, where was I going with it? Something very important.
Well, I don't know, but I have something very important to add to that. So, what also works in being together in business with your spouse, significant other, partner, and so on, is finding out the trigger that motivates the other person to be at their best. And for Adam, it is acknowledgement and cheerleading, accolades, and so on. You are so good, and this is so great. And for me, it's encouragement. In order for me to step out and do something, I need to ponder upon it and really process it, and I need a lot of encouragement. So that's, I think, these are the two things that kind of work for us.
So I think this is very important what she just shared. So know the other person's, I don't know if you call them triggers, right? I don't know if they're triggers, but sort of like what the other person appreciates the most. How, it's kind of like the person is a plant. What's the best food for the plant? How to best water that plant, right? And, sometimes too much will kill the plant as well. So it's both the dosage and what's the proper, what's the right way to do it. So that's very important. But another thing I wanted to share was, dang it, I keep forgetting.
Okay, so hey, great comment from Sean Huber. Yes, squirrel to get his attention and may slow him down for a second. All right, so that's what we are talking about.
Squirrel
Buddy
work.
up, yes. All right, so Adam is focusing on what he is, going to say next. And Dan is saying, I appreciate the raw honesty for being shared. Great, thank you so much. Thank you for watching and all your comments. So when Adam is gathering his thoughts, we know that, yes, the squirrel, bright, shiny object.
Absolutely. Man, I had such a good thought that I wanted to share. Oh, I know what it was. It's creating boundaries. Oh, that's what I want to talk about.
Very good.
Because, when you work... All right, this is very important for men and for women. Now, if you typically, look, there are some more masculine women out there, more feminine guys, right? So if it flips around for you, figure it out which one you play, which role you play. But this is very important. So number one is... the support and encouraging each other when things are not going well. Look, when things are thriving, it's super easy to be together. Like you high-fiving, you're taking time off, you you're consuming the fruits of your success, and it's fantastic. But when the shit hits the fan, and especially if the shit hits the fan for a prolonged period of time, and you need to hunker down, and survive and recover, this is really important that each one, even though you may not feel like it, you need to give encouragement. So here's the important thing. For a guy, remember that your woman wants to feel secure more than anything else. And when shit goes down, and maybe financially things are challenging, for a woman, it's like a disaster. She tries to build a home, nestle, and create a supportive environment, right? And there may be no resources coming in, and she's like freaking out. Oh my God, what are we gonna do, right? So it's very important that you step up to the plate and say, look, I'm gonna make it work. I will make it work. You've got my promise, you've got my commitment, it will be okay. So she needs that affirmation from you. It will be okay, it will be okay, it will be okay. All right? Now, for a guy, I'm curious if you know what it is. Because you do it, but I'm curious if you can verbalize it.
For guy, what is important? I'm freaking out. What is important? It is the winning, achievement.
That's it. She's got it. So look, when things are not going well, we as guys, we beat ourselves up as it is. All right, it's like, oh, we're horrible, we're losers, we can't provide for our family, blah, blah, whatever is going right? So we are already hard on ourselves. So the last thing, if you're a woman and you work with your spouse, the last thing you want to do is nag until you got it, you can't figure it out, you can't make it. When you emasculate your man, the chances of him rebounding and creating more success are just like diminished to nothing, right? So it's really important that you do the pep talk and you believe in your guys. Hey, you're great, you're doing awesome. Give them those accolades, give them the encouragement, don't bring them down. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is this boundaries that I started. So what I mean by boundaries is, realize that sometimes you're working all the time. Sometimes the person may want to take some time off by themselves. That's number one, right? It's like if you work in the office with people and you wanted to take time off, they wouldn't know, follow you, go like, well, what's wrong with you? You don't want to be with us, right? There's nothing to do with them not liking you. It's just they need some time on their own. And the second thing about boundaries is actually sometimes, quite frequently actually, you should have a regular schedule, weekly ideally, that you just you shut down your business, your computers, your phones, your office doors, and you just you chill. There's no business. It's very tough. Or have boundaries where, for example, you decided, hey, 10 o'clock at night, that's a cutoff. After 10 o'clock, there is no business talk. And it doesn't always work that well, but you want to set some guidance in place where, hey, on Sundays, and when one person starts talking shop, you go, hey, look, can we leave it till tomorrow? Right? And again, sometimes you get excited, it's your business and you want to talk about it right now, but as much as possible, create those pockets, those boundaries that are business-free zones to help you kind of recover and get back into the relationship with the person rather than with the business. Right? Anything else on this, or we can move on?
I think that we can move on. Bob is saying, hey, yes, and it will hit the fan at some point. So, hey, Bob, changed. Bob Jenkins.
Bob Jenkins.
Yes.
Awesome. Good to see you.
So, I think that remembering to encourage the other person is really important. But I have a question, Adam, for you. What if the driving force in business is actually a woman or the feminine, partner?
Well, what if?
So how does that
work? Never happens.
No, but because we have a lot of friends that work in business together that actually the woman is the driving force or the leader in the business.
All right. Well, this is where shit is going to get very real, very fast. All right. So look, this is a great question because we have a lot of women clients and a lot of them are very, very powerful. All right. And they became very successful because they know how to be powerful. All right. And the most successful ones know both how to harness kind of the masculine and feminine energy. They can be feminine and successful. Here's the problem. When it enters the relationship area, whether the spouse works with them or not, they tend to take all of that power into the intimate relationship. And that typically doesn't work, right? When you try to be the dominant force in the boardroom and in the bedroom, that typically throws things off. So I don't know, that's all I can really tell you because I'm not a woman running a business. Mm-hmm. But I think the important part is know when to switch things off and allow your guy to support you. all right, and let him know that you may be bringing 5 times more money than your guy does, and that's that can be problematic, because for men, we are such fragile creatures, man. We should be like on display somewhere in a zoo, going like, these species are about to be extinct because they're so fragile. We think women have emotional issues. Jesus, guys, we are freaking basket cases. We can't handle anything. So, it's like, she makes more money than me. Oh, I'm a loser. All right. Oh, that guy drives a bigger car than me. Oh, I'm a loser. It's like, we're horrible, right? So the point is, if you're a woman and you're more successful than your guy, financially, you're more in charge than he is. Make sure when you cross the threshold of a personal relationship, you truly let him know, hey, you support me, you are important, I couldn't do it without you. Again, the accolades. Make the guy feel like a guy. Make a guy feel like a man. That help at all?
Yeah, it does. It does. So I wanted to give a shout out to Kat. Hey, Kat Kim. Welcome. And Lisa Benavides. Yes.
Yeah. So awesome. And some of you guys have been like long timers with you going like, when are you going to retire those signs? We had them forever and ever. But hey, look, they work well for us. We might as well use them again.
We don't want to see Adam anymore. All
right. So look, just in case you're joining us for the first time, look at this magic. You are watching the Marketing Mentor Show with Adam and Bo, where we typically talk a lot about marketing stuff, but today we talk about self-growth issues. So we just spent the last 15 minutes or so talking about working together as husband and wife, as partners, intimate partners, and working together in business. Let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about discovering our strengths. That's a big one. Because for some people it comes easier than for others. So while you're typing.
Okay, well, I wanted to send love to Lisa. So yes, discovering your strength, and each one of us has a different way. It takes me. I think it's a different process for me. So for me, finding the strengths that really help me out in working in our business or anywhere where I can show leadership or my abilities is sitting down and creating the list. I think that I work with lists. So first of all, listing what I am great at, what I'm good at, and where I am not so good at. So where I'm really horrible. And then looking at the skill set that I have. So looking at the passion. Do I love it? Do I like it? Or do I absolutely hate it? And then cross-checking those and saying, okay, this is something that I am really good at and I love it, and this is what I can bring into our business, right?
Right.
and then something that I'm absolutely horrible at and I hate, it's definitely the trait that I'm not going to bring into our business. However,
what trait is that?
Well, I thought that I am horrible at making videos and standing behind the camera, and here I am.
You're horrible at it.
Or making working with graphics. However, in business, as in life, sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Interesting.
In order to make the business work. So sometimes we do the things that we do absolutely hate in order to make the business work.
Well, it's funny. So I've got a lot to contribute on kind of discovering your strengths, but, both of us had very different process. Like I pretty much, I go in cycles, which means, I get really good at something. And once I kind of have a vision. I want to do that. And then I work very, very hard to get very, very good at it. And then at some point I kind of go, I get saturated with it. And for some things it takes longer than for others. And I go, I'm done with it. I need a new challenge. Then I start growing a new set of skills. But when I look back, they pretty much all fall within certain categories. So look, if you don't know what you are good at, one of the first things you can do is think back to your childhood when you were in kindergarten. All right. And what I mean is, don't think about like when people ask you, what do you want to be? So I want to be an astronaut, right? But think about what was it about being an astronaut, or what was it about the thing that you wanted to be that excited you, and also think how you were behaving on a daily basis in the classroom with parents. So I can tell you that, when I did this, when I thought back to where I started, in kindergarten, when I can remember, the things I always loved to do was number one, being a center of attention. Duh, right? Number two, I wanted to call my own shots. I hated being controlled or constrained by something. So I actually hated school because it was such a rigid environment. And number three, I thrived on teaching. I mean, I was always from the kindergarten. In first grade, I was actually being penalized because what I would do is when we were learning lessons, I'll get my lesson done and I'll get it done like this. And then immediately I would get up and start walking around the class and helping other kids. And the teacher was telling me, you can't do that. I was like, what do you mean I can't do it? I'm done. I know how to do it. These kids are struggling. Let me help them.
A young mentor.
So, my parents were called in. I was getting a special desk. I was being penalized for getting up and helping other kids. But I was done. So I was just like sitting there like, oh my God, you can't do it. But thinking back, what do I like to do? What are the strengths? You see, I had the ability to grasp concepts very quickly, even at the young age, and then explain them to someone in very simple terms so they could go, oh, I get it. That's my core strength that I try to harness in everything I do. Right? So whether I teach somebody, life skills, business skills, whatever arena I enter, I always understand my best skills are helping other people thrive because I can take something very complex and make it very simple and immediately usable. That is my most brilliant, unique ability, right? And I discovered that, by looking back where I came from. For Bo.
So let me stop you. When I was little, I was really good at harmonica. Like little harmonica, whatever you call it.
Uh-huh.
So what could I do with that?
You should have been a circus performer.
No,
I don't know.
I should not be even anywhere near any instrumental singing. You don't want to hear me sing. It would be like listening to sirens. You would run away. So, but I remember that I was really good at listening and following directions. Because at school, I was a very obedient student. In contrast to Adam, I would always do everything by the book.
It was a teacher's pet.
I was teacher's pet, and I would do things step by step, write very neatly, have impeccable notes that I would share my notes with people. I didn't sell my notes to anybody, but even at college, I was taking great notes.
Case in point, this is my notes, all right? This is Bo's notes. Look at that. Circles, mind maps, lines, connections. So where am I going with it? So look, my part, visioning and translating vision into a broad action plan. Bo's part, detailed list. Let's get organized. Let's get supported. Let's figure out the details, right? Let's put a system in place. We now play to each other's strengths because we understand them. So, any other thoughts on that?
I think I'm complete.
You complete?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not complete on this. So look, a couple of things. And I was looking for a couple more books. I couldn't find them. But number one is, this is actually a second book. The first book you want to get, if you've never done this, is by Marcus Buckingham. I think it's called Now Discover Your Strengths. Discover Your Strengths. And then the second book in the series, if you really want to get more advanced, is Go Put Your Strengths to Work, right? And then there's one other thing. It's by Dan Sullivan. And you can find him at strategiccoach.com. Dan Sullivan is one of my mentors. He has a little program. I think they actually sell it for $100. It used to be on a CD in a book, or 2 CDs in a book. I forget. It's very easy to consume. It's called Discover Your Unique Brilliance. Discover Your Unique Brilliance. Unique ability. Thank you. Discover Your Unique Ability. That's what he calls it. So in the year 2000, I took this program and I went and I processed it. And he had a very simple process. He was a very specific email that I sent then to my family, people that knew me, and also my colleagues and a handful of clients that I was working with. And the funny thing, looking at it now, every single person with one of the first things that they came back with said, number one is you help me understand the complex ideas in my business and make them work. And number two, you inspire me to be better at what I do. And so again, goes right back to what I tend to do the best.
Right. So I actually have a perfect quote for what we are going to what we are trying to describe, that like each one of us has got a different skill set and different unique abilities, and we are trying to use them to our best knowledge in our business. And the 19th century philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "You have your way, I have my way. As far as the best way, the right way, and the only way, it doesn't exist." So there are
Say
many.
it again. You have your way, I have my way. You take the highway.
And Adam's way is the right way. No, the only way doesn't exist. So I realized that the way that I do things is just another way of doing things, different from how Adam does things. And whichever way works, that's how it works.
That's it. There is no one right way. Okay, perfect. So, anything else? Oh, I got a couple of suggestions. If you are in this place where you need to discover your strengths again, so I told you a couple of things: the books, the Dan Sullivan little course, think back to the kindergarten, and a couple of basic things you can start doing right now to help you discover what you're really good at least in terms of how people perceive you, is listen to two things that people tell you. The first thing is that people ask you, "Hey, can you help me out with?" Like they call you up and say, "Hey, can you help me out with? Can you help me out with? Or can you help me with?" What comes after "with" is typically an indication that they perceive that you are very good at it or better than them. Right? So if you repeatedly get asked by people around you, "Can you help me with?" then that gives you an inclination to what you might be good at. The second thing is when people come to you and watch you do something, and then say, "Wow, how did you do that?" When you hear that amazement, then they go, "Wow, how did you do that?" Right? Obviously, the joking answer is, "I did it very well, thank you very much." But what that statement indicates, or the question, what it indicates, is that you just performed some sort of magic. And to you, it may be something you take completely for granted. To them, they have no idea what just happened. They were like in complete amazement. That's a great indication that that's some sort of magic skill that you have, your unique ability that you should practice. Okay? All right. So if you're just joining us, by the way, if you've been hanging out with us, thank you very much. With Carla, Alex, great to see you. Bob, Jim, awesome. I know Bo has been acknowledging you guys, but thank you very much for being here. If you're just joining us, you are watching the Adam and Bo show, the Marketing Mentor show with Adam and Bo. I'm obviously Bo.
Okay, and I just wanted
and this is Adam.
I wanted to thank Bob Jenkins. Thank you so much for bringing up the DISC profile, and there is a couple of different ways that you can actually discover your strengths and brilliance. There are different, I forget the profile that we were using. What's the name of it? The assessment. But all kind of different assessments. And Bob, yes, I'm going to ask Therese. I hope that you guys are on a baby watch, and congratulations. And baby Jenkins is due very soon. So congratulations to you guys. We are waiting to see.
The world is coming to an end. More Jenkins are coming.
Okay, Alex is saying Marcus Buckingham. Another wait, yeah, Marcus Buckingham.
That's what it was.
Okay, yes, that's what it was.
Marcus Buckingham.
Discover
right
your
there.
strengths. Great.
Yeah, the first book is Discover Your Strengths. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right, so let's shift to the last part, which is support network. All right. Shall we talk about that?
Yes, we should talk about it.
All
It's
right.
very important in your business, especially if you are working out of home, if you are a small business owner, small company. Where do you find out what I think, Adam, you call the cheerleaders, your supporters, and people who inspire you, motivate you? And I think that you have 3 categories. But what I wanted to 4 categories. What I wanted to bring up is, having some kind of accountability body other than your spouse. So if you are working with your spouse, like in our situation, look for somebody who is not your spouse as a person that will hold you accountable to what you are doing. I actually, for the last year and a half, have been on call every day except for weekends with my accountability buddy, Luz Sellers, who is or was on the call. So thank you, Luz. I appreciate, and our conversations go in different directions, but it does really inspire and motivate me for the day and for the week. And then another thing that you should have, I think, is mentors, teachers, people that you are learning from. And it doesn't have to be somebody that you are in direct contact with, but it can be a mentor through books, videos, audios, programs, and so on. But you should always aspire to have a mentor at any stage that you are in. And it doesn't have to be a marketing mentor or husband or spouse. It shouldn't be, actually. And the last part for me, as a woman in business, it is having your group of friends, girlfriends, guy friends, boyfriends, just friends. No, people whom you like to relax with and do fun things outside of business. Because this business part, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, it is the third entity in your life. It sleeps with you all the time.
Ooh,
it eats with you. It's with you in a car when you drive, whether you're on vacation or not. It really is hard to detach from business when you are both in it.
Good one.
And you have to look for some kind of separation as much as you can. But the truth is, it is the hardest part to do, because it is your livelihood, and things come up at any time, and when you have a thought about business, you can have it at any moment, whether you are at dinner, a party, in bed, on vacation, sleeping. Your brain
There's
works
a distinction,
all the time.
being in bed and sleeping. They're different things, okay? Anyway, love it. So I love it. Business is with you all the time. I love that. It's a great way to look at it. But so Bo has alluded that I look at networks or support networks different ways. And I think what I have learned, and this goes back to us trying to work together, not being able to work together, then being able to work together again, is just realizing, just as you have different strengths, your partner, people around you, have different roles that they naturally play. And some roles are not natural to them. So look, I am a natural teacher and a natural pusher. So let me just mention 4 categories first that you should have support in. Number 1 is a teacher, right? So these are the people that allow you to become the next best version of you by introducing you to better ideas, to new paradigms, new ways to look at life, right? And they teach you new skills, new ways of thinking. They open doors. So teachers, mentors, kind of in the same category. Second category is doers, right? So in your business, as you grow and your business grows, there are always new tasks that will need to be done. In fact, everything you know right now is already obsolete when it comes to your ability to take the business to the next level. It's gotten you here, it won't take you there. So that means you have to be continually learning new skills. However, or new ideas. However, when you learn a new idea, that doesn't mean you have to go and you have to learn how to do. So for example, Bo is having a little side business, and she knows she needs a website for it. So, and she understands the whole concept, but doesn't mean that Bo has to do the website, or would she be better off getting a doer, right? And a doer is someone who is really whose brilliance is website in that particular area. So you need to have a doer, someone that you can say, go do it, and they do it. The third support network is a pusher. And a pusher is someone who is your accountability partner, who doesn't let you off the hook. When you say, I wanted to make $1 million, and then, 5 years into this, go like, well, if I just make $75,000 a year, it's going to be okay. It's like bullshit. You said you wanted to $1 million, go for $1 million. Don't quit on yourself, right? The pusher is someone who just will not let you off the hook. I'm a great pusher. Client comes to me and says, look, we had a great lunch. We just made $1 million. I'm great. Why didn't you make 2? All right. What's going on next? It's like I'm horrible at acknowledging, because I'm always going like, what's next? What's bigger? What's better? What's faster? Right? How do we think? Let's think bigger. Let's make the next plan. And that works for some, but always there's the fourth part missing, which is cheerleaders. And I told you, like, we all are suckers for acknowledgement. Sure. Guys especially, I'm a huge sucker for acknowledgement. So if I don't get nourished by acknowledgement for a long time, I start withering and die. So And many of us don't have enough cheerleaders. So realize that in business, your partner may be great at many different things, but they cannot fulfill all those four roles consistently. So you need to have a network of people that you go for different needs to fulfill different needs. You hang out with different people. Some folks, you go and you hang out and you have, shop talk, and they're your mentors and your teachers, they open and your peers, right? So they may partially be a bit of a cheerleader. So maybe somebody in that network that may contribute new information, but when you talk to them, they always push you. They always inspire you to go bigger and don't quit. There may be someone else who, like, every time so Bo is a great doer, right? When you say here's the plan, and she'll go, okay, let me figure it out. Let me go and do that, right? So who are those people in your life, and let's talk about maybe where do you find them?
Okay, so I think that friends, you have
come back to earth, Bo. Come back to earth.
Well, I was listening to where do you find the cheerleaders, where do you find the encouragers, where do you find the teachers? And teachers, if you are in business, you have to be open and listen to what are some things that you want to learn, whether it's working on your skill set, whether it's working on developing your abilities, or the next thing that you want to implement or have done in your business, and keeping the eyes open and just tuning into those courses and buying books. And we should be perpetual learners, so having a teacher is a no-brainer. Finding the cheerleaders, you can find them. Some people find them around in family, among family members. Sometimes it's a good idea, sometimes not. It depends how great your family network is. And then going to events, finding support system at the events, finding teachers and mentors at the events, live events or online events, and finding the cheerleaders over there, because you meet people who think and do things like you do, other business owners, other entrepreneurs. So I think that's where you would naturally find most of the support network.
So I think what's important to realize is that what people do for a living has nothing to do with what role they will take in your support network. Sometimes it may, but sometimes it may not, right? So look, I'm a teacher and a pusher naturally, but in someone else's life, I may actually fall into the cheerleader role for them. It has nothing to do with me teaching them marketing or business skills or inspiring them to do to do better in the business. I may step into the cheerleader role because of how we kind of connected for whatever reason. So what's important for you to know is that you want to hang out with people who ideally think the same way. So for me, the best way to find such folks is always going to live events, right? Especially events where you have to invest a little bit of money, I think, because you can go to a local event and you pay $20 to participate, but you've got kind of everybody, right? But then you go to an event and you maybe pay $1,000, $2,000, maybe $5,000, maybe $10,000 to attend, and all of a sudden the environment changes. Very different people are in that room. Mm-hmm. Now so this is true for entrepreneurs, right? Those folks will all be entrepreneurial. Those folks will all be focused on businesses and growing. Those folks will all be focused on continual education. But again, the personalities will be different. So you will have the jokers in the group who will always be cheerleaders going like, hey, great job. You have the quote unquote assholes in the group who always say like, well, how come your business is so small? Like, come on, the pushers. So they're all entrepreneurs. They all think big. They all go in places. But the personalities are such that they'll take one of those four roles in your personal life. So I think actually events are great. I also think that you've got to have two core groups in your life that are structured. And both those groups are masterminds. And I always teach my clients, you should be in two masterminds all the time. One should be a mastermind for which you invested to participate in. And the reason I say that is because it's worked for me over the last 15 years. It's like every year I'm in a mastermind there. I pay someone to facilitate the group, right? It's someone's program. I joined because, they provide the structure. So they provide a little bit of teaching, accountability, connections, whatever it is that the mastermind, the money role is. and I enjoy that structured environment. I don't have to organize anything. They take care of things. I just show up for my retreats or mastermind meetings or whatever. And then the second part is having my own mastermind group. Typically it's smaller, so it's usually like 4 to 6, at occasions maybe 8 people. But that group is completely privately organized. We are as a group in charge who gets to join us, who gets kicked out, when we meet, for how often we meet. And so it's a little bit different structure. We tend to get a little bit more intimate in the private group, but often because it's kind of self-selected, sometimes the danger is that the thinking can become myopic. That's why I have the paid group that I'm a part of, because they bring in more. There's more variety, more people, more new ideas sometimes, and then I get to explore them further in my private group. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have 2 thoughts actually on pushers and cheerleaders, and we actually have one cheerleader, Lisa, the real cheerleader, Lisa Benavides. By the way, Lisa, great job with your blog and with your Instagram, and I am watching you, and I totally love what you are doing. So if you are curious, you can check out Lisa Benavides.
Go Lisa, go Lisa,
the
go
mommy
Lisa.
blogger. But 2 things about the cheerleader. So when I think about the cheerleader, I'm thinking about somebody who is deliberate in their cheerleading, not somebody that says, yay, every time, yay, good job, because it becomes insincere. So I think that it has to be the cheerleader who appreciates somersaults and all tumbling and is really good at it, the strong and sincere cheerleader. And the same goes for pusher that is not, bringing you down, but that encourages you to go and move forward and to really use your strengths to your advantage. It's not somebody that's like, hey, you made 1 million, why didn't you make $2 million? Or why, like, you sold 1 program, why didn't you sell 20 programs? Or, they are not bringing you down, they are really lifting you up. There's the saying, lift as you climb, and they lift you up truly. So these are my 2 thoughts on cheerleaders and your pushers.
Very good. All right, we're going to wrap it up. We went a little bit longer than planned, but we had a late start. I just want to share with you, when it comes to finding your support network, great book by Keith Ferrazzi, Never Eat Alone. And I've got to tell you, at some point when I was reading this book, I think I got to about page, I don't remember, 20 or 29. And, I just started bowling uncontrollably, because I realized that I've let my support network disappear, and I wasn't putting enough effort to build it, which brings me to the last lesson for the day. If you want to have people support you, it's not enough to support them. I always thought that as long as I support someone, then they're going to support me back. And it's actually not enough, because if you always give to someone, they start feeling imbalance in the relationship, and they feel like they're not providing value to you. So the real secret to having great support network where you can really count on is actually to allow yourself to be vulnerable.
To give and take.
Cry. You want to talk about it?
Well, for me it is to give and take, and I think that for me it's the hardest part. I mean,
to take.
I am a natural nurturer and supporter. And it is very hard for me to really take in, and if I'm acknowledged, if somebody gives me the appreciation, it's hard for me to get that. I think that sometimes I do like to be the center of attention, but not so much. So that's I thought that I'm better off working from behind. But I think that it comes from the fact that it is hard for me to take in.
Yeah. And for me, so I like to teach. So I'll just turn on the teacher mode. And again, don't give enough space in the relationship to just turn the teacher mode off and say, you know what? I've got shit that stinks too, right? I've got things that fall apart. I've got support. Help me. Right? It's like the words help me. It's really hard to put out there. So, I say that because for entrepreneurs, for those who are kind of hard-charging men and women, it's really hard to take that step back and say, you know what? Give me. I'm here to take as well, right? And that actually is one of the critical keys to building relationships. And again, I got that. I really kind of got the distinction and understood that when I went through this book, Never Eat Alone, which, by the way, I should always read a book a week or a book a month at the very least. So, all right, I think we're going to wrap it up for the day. So, folks, I totally forgot to ask you today to give me some hearts and likes.
I know. I was
people.
giving us hearts and
you were liking our
thumbs.
show.
I'm liking our
so
show.
Supposedly it helps us when you do likes, and when you do the loves, that helps us even more. So if you want to pitch in, that would help us supposedly somehow. We'll be back next Thursday around 10 a.m.ish. Meanwhile, I am on every day, usually about 3 p.m. Pacific, for about 15 minutes, just covering one more specific topic. And again, we'll not always be so verbose and so long, and we'll get our audio going on better next time to start with. Cindy is here again. We got a diehard fan.
Yeah, we have some
awesome.
Really diehard fans on our show. So Adam promised for the next 30 days to do Facebook Live every day.
Today is day 3 of 30. I'm making progress. 10% in.
Such a good job. You're great.
Well,
You're
thank
doing
you.
so well.
Well, thank you
awesome.
for your support.
Keep doing
You're such a great supporter. Obviously, I think one of the keys to everything else, or 2 keys, is number 1, don't take yourself so seriously. All right, I am ultimately the biggest goofball you will meet. I love to goof around. I'm a prankster, and I think that what I'm working on is bringing more of that into my business and into my life more in public. I'm a prankster in goofball. Kind of once people get to know me, I tend to be a little bit more reserved because before people get to know me. So as you watch these shows, you probably watch kind of Adam unravel here, and you get which may be a bad thing.
Might be a bad thing. No, I think it's a good thing. So I can share you with the world. That's good.
You
That's
can share me with the world. Awesome. And the second thing is, you got to have some fun. So one is you just being who you are, right? Bring that to the surface, and don't try to become someone you are not. But the second part is really have fun. Whatever you do, just have fun with it. And by the way, Lisa, I just recently found our Patronia video. Do you remember that one? That will be our little private secret, and now hundreds of people will know. So Patronia, great to have you here. You are awesome.
Awesome. Yes, we are. I think we are done.
All right. So join us next week, Thursday, 10 a.m.ish. We'll be back with the Marketing Mentor Show with Adam and Bo. And tomorrow, the next day, and the next day at 3 p.m.ish Pacific, join me for the Adam monologue. The Adam's marketing monologue. 10-15 minute lesson. By the way, if you are listening to this before you disembark, again, press like, press love. If you want to type in a comment and have an idea for something we should talk about in the future, you got a question you want us to answer, which in the future shows we'll typically address 1 or 2 questions at each show. So if you've got them, bring them in. We'll make sure we loop back to them next week. So look, you are awesome.
Thank you so much, and thank you. We appreciate everybody watching, and we promise that as we go with those shows every Thursday, we are going to get better and better, figuring out and delivering the best content
Absolutely.
and show that we can.
And look, here's an idea. You are here. How come you didn't bring 5 friends with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Next time, invite the friends over. We love you.
There's the Adam Pusher. So yeah, we love you. We appreciate you. You are awesome. And until we connect next time, here's to your massive success. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.